Hello, everybody. Well, I take it that means you can hear me. Fantastic. Thumbs up if you can, yeah? All right, excellent. Wonderful. Well, hi. We thought you would get a little more of the ho 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 season here. So wonderful, our wonderful Josh has sorted out how to get these backgrounds. And I'm wearing my flashy red dress. What is it about these seasons? So this is something that I wanted to share with you, just talk with you, because it's an important time in with our culture, and it's really a time when a lot of my friends who are therapists tell me it's their busiest time of the year. It's not an easy time in some ways. For some, we cruise right through it and enjoy each other, and there's no problem. But for many people, conflicts come up because you're going to see family, you're going to deal with whatever it means to give or receive gifts, and all the different emotions are on display. And so it's helpful to have a way of dealing with whatever arises. Really, it's very important. Now, of course, this is not only during our Christmas season or our holiday season, but it has to do with our lives in general. How do we make the most of each moment when we have all kinds of feelings arising, all kinds of impulses arising? And if we haven't developed a strategy to be able to work with them, then we have a problem. So I've just going through notes and trying to see how to inspire you. This is my thought. How can I've got 1 hour to really inspire you. So what can I give you? And so I look through what inspires me. And so one of the things that I'm going to do today, which is a little different from my normal way of being, usually I like to talk directly. So using, reading things, using notes and so forth, it's a little bit of a distraction for me because I figure, you want a personal connection. That's the value of us doing this Zoom, is that I can look at you, I can see my beloveds from all over the world. It's so exciting and wonderful to be able to see you and enjoy you. And you can see me, and you can also see, not only hear my intensity, but you can see my intensity, which is a value. It's a value because with the degree of energy that I give, it stimulates you. We are always looking, or we should be, how to stimulate the higher aspects of our own consciousness, because that is what's going to transform everything. So it's important for us to seek out what stimulates us. Anyway, back to what I was trying to say is, what I want to do is I'm going to read some things, but I'm going to read them and comment on them. And because what I realized for myself also, when I read any kind of Dharma books or anything, the tendency, because I'm a speed reader, is to just go very quickly. And then, I get some things, but some things, they really require digestion. So for instance, now I read this quote on our last Zoom together, and but I want to go over it again very slowly, because it is the, how shall I say, it is the essence of what's being taught in many ways, and it comes from the heart mind scientists. So it's couched it's in their language, but it's so perfect for us to really understand this. And it starts with these words: self-induced positive emotions. Now, I love this idea because, of course, we have self-induced all kinds of things, that we are party to. And so how do we use this idea? What does this mean, self-induced? So I want to invite you right now to place your hand on your heart. You can put both hands or one hand, but place your hands on your heart. And I want you to think about something that made you really, really happy, something that just delighted you. For instance, in the last Xoom advertising that our dear Joshua sent out, there was a picture of Santa meditating. That just tickled me. So every time I think about it, I get warm. I get a warm feeling. So, bring something like this to mind, something that just gives you, it could be watching your cats wrestle with each other, or watching your child delight in a toy, or it doesn't really matter what it is. It could just be a beautiful arrangement of flowers that you made, and when you looked at it, you appreciated the beauty of the world. So hold to this. Now, when you have this, now some of us, many of us, have a lot of these all day long, where we look at something and we delight in it and our heart gets warm. We want to cultivate these experiences so that should other circumstances arise, so that we find the mind endlessly revolving in negative obsessions, that we can go back to that feeling. So if you can actually go and stand, this is one of the values of having an altar, is that you can always go and stand in front of the altar and remind yourself, well, wait a second, I have sources of refuge. I have a commitment that I've made to myself and to the world that I'm going to manifest the highest possible consciousness. So how can I do this? And delight in the beauty of your shrine. This is the other aspect of making offerings, or keeping it clean and neat, and putting precious things that you appreciate, putting pictures of the ones that you love, because you want to be able to continually self-induce positive emotions. Now, to go on with what's written here, because it's important that we really understand this. This increases the coherence, meaning the ability to communicate and be united in bodily processes. So, in other words, when we allow ourselves to stimulate these emotions, these positive emotions, we'll call them, when we allow ourselves to stimulate them, that our body responds. And it's helpful for us to know this. Hormonally, we have a completely different body experience than if we go towards negative anger, jealousy, greed, whatever the negative emotions are. If we move in that direction, we are stimulating a different set of hormones. So we really want to do our best to keep the body-mind coherent, because this is what really is interesting. The heart rhythm actually responds. So it's not only the endocrines and all of these other hormones, but it's the rhythm of the heart itself that changes. And this it stimulates what they call higher cognitive functions. Now, again, these words could distract us. So let's look at what that means. Fight or flight is a primitive. It comes from the primitive brain. So what comes from what is higher cognitive functions? Network, nurture, consider all aspects, coordinate all aspects, be creative. So in other words, if we are able to self-induce positive emotions, that when we are faced with a situation that causes conflict, that causes our emotional body to respond in negative ways, if we are able to calm down, bring our heart into a rhythm, what happens is this whole realm of what is actually called the feminine way of dealing with conflict, to network and nurture, that these higher cognitive functions, what does that do? It creates emotional stability and facilitates states of calm, which is absolutely essential in dealing with whatever you have to deal with. Because if we allow ourselves to habitually strike out, defend, become hostile, withdraw, anything that moves us away from a sense of interconnectedness with the whole, we are going to suffer, and we become more and more unstable. And the more unstable we become, the wilder, the crazier we become. So this whole little operation is absolutely essential for us to understand, to go on. Without establishing a baseline. So in other words, as we cultivate these positive emotions. Now this also, I was very happy to share the little bit of Tara's Refuge dance and music at our beautiful retreat space on Kauai, because every time when we dance and we look at each other and we feel into the sound, we feel into the movement, again, there is that warmth of heart. There is that resting in the space of, I belong here. This is, I'm one with this wonderful energy. So we move towards the oneness of our community. The experience of community is very important, because when we experience community like we're doing now, like I'm looking at all of my beloveds here, when we experience this, then we're truly able to continue this warmth in our heart. It allows it to expand. I want to see if I can get all of you there. Okay, you all appeared on my screen. I was getting a little frustrated. I couldn't see everybody. Oh, some new folks that I haven't seen before on this. Yes, oh, hi, Atlee. Atlee's waving away. Now that's really good. Now, Atlee, I'm talking right at you, girl. This is really important. Because, you know, we're all in various stages of frustration about who knows what, if we allow ourselves to be. And that's the key, if we allow ourselves to be. It says here, if we don't establish this baseline of reference, we get stuck in familiar, unhealthy, emotional, and behavioral patterns. And we live our life through past familiar or traumatic experience. Okay, so here's the deal now. How do we get past that, though? Because we have such, I mean, it goes right here. Familiar patterns, behavioral patterns, automatic filters. How do we get at them? That of course, is the important question. How do we get at them? Because it's so easy to go belly up and say, I can't do this. This is too hard. It's way beyond me. I can't do this. But you know, that doesn't work. It simply doesn't work. I can't do this just means that we're going to have to deal with it down the line even more intensely. It's only going to get more and more intense unless we determine that we are going to establish a new way of going about the whole business. We are going to transform the power of the emotions that arise. So how do we do that? Okay, well, anyway, that's that quote. I'm very happy to have shared it once again. I just love it. Self-induced. Self-induced positive emotions. It is just, you know, write that down. It's just hysterical to know we can do this. We can induce ourselves. We can shoot ourselves up with positive emotions. Amazing. It's really beautiful to remember that, This is what our practices are all about. When we do the prayer of motivation, when we do Shantideva, Refuge Bodhicitta, the Tara practices, When we see Tara in front of us or see ourselves as Tara, that's what we're doing. We are self-inducing positive emotions. And this is why it's really important to not let your practice become something that bugs you, something that you feel like I have to do, otherwise I'm not good enough. I'm not a good girl, or I'm not a good boy if I don't do my practice. You've got to really avoid that. The practice should inspire you. It shouldn't. That's why even if you just maintain a shrine, clean the shrine, dust it, make offerings, put flowers, if it pleases you. If it becomes a burden that you can't pull off and you feel bad if you don't do it right, it's useless. It's useless, because one of the main things that we have to confront in this journey is guilt. Fear and guilt, these two. Fear of having what we want taken away from us and what we think is going to make us unstable. And then the guilt of having harmed others or harmed ourselves or not being good enough. These things, all of them, have to be examined. So here's the point. If we want to maintain a peaceful and open mind, even in the face of all of the strange things that are going on around us, and let's face it, it's a strange world that we inhabit. And yet, this world, okay, yes, Mitty, I hear you. Even in the ethers, she's saying, drink, drink. Yeah. So, even in all of the what apparent insanity that's going on around us, we can maintain a peaceful and clear mind. So how do we do this? Okay, the first thing I want you to do is, if you can, stand up. Stand up. Me too. I'm going to try standing up. Okay. And lift your hands up over your head. Stretch up, 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 up. Breathe and exhale. Breathe and exhale. Okay, excellent. Now you can sit down. Okay. So we start by loving our bodies and appreciating and giving them time and space to rearrange themselves, to reintegrate themselves, to allow the body to have its place. Now, the next thing I want you to do is I want to do the 9 healing breaths with you. So just start paying attention to your breathing. And with every inhale, feel that you are attracting radiant light into your body. And with every exhale, feel that you're letting go of any amount of tension. So as you continue to breathe in and out gently, you don't have to contrive your breath at all. Just keep this in mind. Inhale, radiant light. Exhale, let go of tension. And allow your awareness to close your eyes and allow your awareness to move through your body so that you're examining every part of your body to see, where are you holding tension? Are you holding tension in your shoulders? Breathe out. Are you holding tension in your chest? Are you holding tension in your face? Are you holding tension in your scalp? Are you holding tension in your arms? In your hands? In your belly? In your hips? In your legs? In your feet? In your back? In your neck? Inhaling radiant light, exhaling and letting go of tension. Now imagine with the next exhale, you're letting go of all emotional tension. Don't try to think about what emotional tension you have. Just give your deep mind the command. Every time you exhale, let go. Let go of emotional tension. Now on the next set of exhales, let go of mental tension. And now just relax deeply and inhale, radiant light. Exhale, let go. And feel your mind opening. Feel it opening above, below, on all sides. Vast, infinite peace. Okay. Now you can continue this way. This lovely Anila, Anitrime, she invites us, in order to maintain a peaceful and open mind, we can work with certain affirmations. For instance, every morning when I wake up, I say, every day, in every way, I'm getting better and better. This actually delights me. For some reason, it just tickles me. So that as I look around, before I even think about what the day, for instance, I don't think, today's a Zoom day. Oops, got to get my act together. Got to look decent for the cameras. Got to get the room ready. I could build up quite a sense of anxiety and tension over the Zoom, believe me. But instead, every day in every way, I'm getting better and better. So I'm convinced that no matter what happens, it's going to be fine because I'm getting better and better. Okay, so now, as you breathe, this time, when you breathe in, you say to yourself, everything changes. When you breathe out, you say, I remain at ease. Everything changes. I remain at ease. So now continue that while I'm talking. Everything changes. I remain at ease. It is absolutely essential that we truly understand that in this realm in which we exist, there is no solid thing. It is all made up of dancing atoms. And none of them are solid. They are all energetic impulses arising and disappearing very rapidly. So we cannot expect anything to be permanent, to be unchanging. So we must really relax into this understanding that moment by moment, we cannot cling to the idea that this is going to be the same. Now, the good news about this, and this has to do with Christmas. Now, if you want to open your eyes, you can, yeah? Okay. Because a lot of people, now I'm going to tell you the story about Aunt Matilda. Actually, it comes from His Holiness the Dalai Lama. So it was probably something like Anila Wangmo that he was talking about. Okay. But at any rate, I say Aunt Matilda because everybody's got an Aunt Matilda. And we meet Aunt Matilda during the holidays usually. Now, Aunt Matilda, whenever she shows up, we know that there's going to be an issue because first of all, she's loud. Secondly, she insults everybody, especially you. Thirdly, she drinks too much. She smokes. I mean, the list, Aunt Matilda, you know that you're going to have to manage Aunt Matilda. Now, when you wake up in the morning and you know that Aunt Matilda is arising or she's arriving, what do? Do you develop a sense of dread? Or do you recognize that who knows what Aunt Matilda is going to be like this time? It's been a whole year since we've seen her. So something might have changed. And even if it didn't, what can change is the way I deal with Aunt Matilda. How can I be creative with Aunt Matilda? How can I deal with all of her strangenesses without getting pissed off, without falling apart, without rejecting, without judging, without being critical. Because this is essential for our own happiness. Of course, Aunt Matilda, she doesn't even know what's going on. She is so far lost in her craziness that it almost doesn't matter who you are or what you're doing. However, she will respond. So if you are defensive and judgmental, she's going to respond to that. But if you can get her laughing, if you can show some interest in her, if you can guide her in certain ways, protect her in certain ways, and make it an important part of your journey without judgment, see that this is a big opportunity for you. Aunt Matilda is your big opportunity. This is the way in which we are looking at these circumstances. So remind yourself, everything changes, I remain at ease. Everything changes, I remain at ease. So now here's another one, another line that Ani Trema. So again, close your eyes. Get in touch with your breathing. And inhale, I am willing to let go. And exhale of any thoughts of negativity. I am willing to let go of any thoughts of negativity. I am willing to let go of any thoughts of negativity. Now remember, you are training your own mind. You are training it to be able to remind yourself, I can do this. I can let go of any thoughts of negativity. Now, okay, let's look at this a little closer, because yeah, it's one of those things that it's easy to say, but it sure as hell ain't easy to do when your mind is totally obsessed with somebody that's really bugging you. And, you know, we have all kinds of examples around us in the political sphere, things that are really, really, really bugging us. And we allow ourselves to grind on about them rather than come up with any positive forward motion in the circumstances. So what do we do? First of all, according to these teachings, is we recognize that whatever the mind is doing is part of the power of the mind. So we do not become judgmental. Okay, yes, Miri, I'll drink something. Yep, there we go. Yeah. We do not become judgmental about our own mind. That's useless. It's useless. Fear and guilt, those two, are biggest enemies, okay? So we don't want to get into the guilt, I'm so bad because I have all these bad negative thoughts. According to these teachings, when we have strong emotion and arises because of these thoughts, this is our fertility. This is the fertility of the mind, the power of the mind. So how do we redirect it? Now, according to the great meditation masters, we look at it without judgment. Okay? So what we're used to doing is trying to seek some kind of reaction. We either become aggressive, we get angry, and then the mind is spinning in its anger. We reject. We can define the ways in which we are not being wholesome about whatever it is that we're thinking about. When these strong emotions, these strong impulses arise, what do? We take the power of the mind and look at it. Simply look at it. Feel, yes, it's uncomfortable. That's right. It's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable to look at our anger. It's uncomfortable to look at our grief, our depression. It's uncomfortable. But so what? It's just as uncomfortable to express it and to have it revolving around in our mind and our heart forever. And according to these teachings, if we look at it and really explore, what does it mean? Where is it coming from? What am I attached to? What am I afraid of? What do I feel guilty about? And we ask these questions open-heartedly, that eventually it unravels itself. Now, one of the powers, this is talking about meditation, actually. The ability to sit and look at the mind. Look at what the mind is doing without judgment. Being present, simply with a sense of curiosity, and allowing ourselves and asking, keep asking, what's behind this? What is generating these thoughts? Why can I not look at the circumstances of my life and be creative? Determine a creative way of moving forward. Looking at, yes, okay, the circumstances are difficult. We can look at a physical illness, for instance, okay, or some kind of physical impairment. And we can allow ourselves, we can see that thinking, I'm physically impaired, I can't do anything, I can't function, and we can go into the whiny place, the nothing is good enough place, the this moment isn't good enough place. So let's look at it. Let's look at it and see, well, what's underneath this? What am I afraid of? I mean, here I am, I'm in this condition. Now, I'm thinking myself as I talk to you about when I had my hip operation. And it wasn't a success at first. At first, I was in more pain than when I went in. And I was completely immobilized. I could barely walk to the bathroom and back. And most of the time, I spent just laying in bed. So I have a reference point for what I'm talking about. And I examined, I learned so much about myself through this, of what my fears were. What was I afraid of? And recognize that each thing that I was afraid of was right there. It was right there in front of me. I'm afraid of, now I can't dance. How am I going to make an income? How am I going to take care of myself? I had a long list of things that were freaking me out or could have freaked me out. But the fortunate thing was that I had a background in practice, a long background in practice. I think before this lifetime, I had a background in practice. So because of that, I automatically looked at what the mind was doing and was able to disarm all of it. It took time, but what else are you going to do when you're flat on your back? It was really an amazing experience. It was an amazing blessing to realize that it was up to me to work with my mind. And that allowed me then to be present for whenever people would come. Instead of talking about me and how I felt and all of my fears, I could concentrate on them and really, really, bring them in to my experience in a positive way, so that they would see that even though here I was crippled and most of the time in pain, I was still having a really good time being with them and loving them and inviting them to share their life with me. And so many afterwards, down the road a few years, wrote to me to say how powerful that experience was for them, to realize that it's okay. There are many of these wonderful YouTube thingies that I just love. I love following the YouTube trail of people who are impaired in some way that we would consider them impaired. Now we're talking about, two legs amputated, or cerebral palsy, or, it's endless, the challenges that people have to go through. And it's so inspiring to see these people who have, one of my favorite things to watch is, I forget what you call it, when they come on stage and they sing or they dance, or they, there's judges and Got Talent, I guess that's what it's called. I love watching these things. Several of them have been people who were completely, there was a woman who at 18 years old lost her hearing and learned to sing. She was a singer, and she kept singing because she could feel the vibration of the music, the support music in her feet. How inspiring is that? It's so inspiring to remind us it doesn't matter what our afflictions are. Everybody's afflicted in one way or the other. What matters is what we do with it. What matters is that we seek a way of being creative with what we've got. Okay, so now the next one. Back to your breathing. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. That's very good. And now close your eyes and say, in this moment, I can be open, spacious, and kind. In this moment, I can be open, spacious, and kind. Inhale, in this moment, I can be open. Exhale, spacious and kind. In this moment, I can be open, spacious, and kind. In this moment, I can be open, spacious, and kind. I love and approve of myself. I am at peace with myself. I love and approve of myself. I am at peace with myself. I love and improve of myself. I am at peace with myself. In this moment, I choose not to create suffering. In this moment, I choose not to create suffering. In this moment, I choose not to create suffering. In this moment, I choose not to create suffering. I am willing to see that everyone seeks happiness. I am willing to see that everyone seeks happiness. I am willing to see that everyone seeks happiness. I am willing to see that everyone seeks happiness. I plant the seed of joy in the world. I plant the seed of joy in the world. I plant the seed of joy in the world. I plant the seed of joy in the world. Now, don't worry about writing these down. Remember, if you've made any kind of donation, you will receive them. I promise, I promise. I am willing to be present in this moment. I am willing to be present in this moment. I am willing to be present in this moment. When I open my heart, my mind is free. When I open my heart, my mind is free. When I open my heart, my mind is free. Now for this moment, put your hands on your heart. Remember that wonderful thing that brought you joy, whatever it was, whatever it is. And say, as you inhale, when I open my heart, and as you exhale, my mind is free. When I open my heart, my mind is free. When I open my heart, my mind is free. When I open my heart, my mind is free. I move forward with confidence. All is well in my life. I move forward with confidence. All is well in my life. Inhale, I move forward with confidence. Exhale, all is well in my life. I move forward with confidence. All is well in my life. Okay, my dearlings, you can open your eyes now. Those are Ani Trime's 10 affirmations for a peaceful and open mind. Fun, easy to remember to do this. And you know, you can do this with somebody, if somebody is, no, here's the other piece of the wonderful holidays, is we meet people who are having a rough time. And our natural, our heart of compassion, our warmth, wants to do something that's perfectly realistic and real. And what can we do? This is the question that we can come up with. Well, if you can sit them down and get them to breathe with you, just to breathe with you, and see which one of these affirmations, you could go through it with them, and see which one really speaks to them. You can do them one at a time, and then go through it. Just play with them. Just be playful, not getting stuck, not grasping, not having expectations. One of the hardest things to realize is that without being willing to look at the mind, this is why meditation and mindfulness is so absolutely essential. If we're not willing to look at the mind, if we're not willing to really understand what is underneath our guilt and our fear, what is underneath it, what is motivating it, what is compelling us to be miserable, compelling us to be angry, we have to be willing to look at it, and we have to be willing to hold our attention on it, even if it's uncomfortable, and keep asking the question. So if we meet someone, to tell them, oh, just get over it. This is the one I really love. What happens when somebody tells you to just get over it? If you're angry, what happens? You get more angry normally. I mean, that almost never works. The just get over it number never works. Grief, oh, that's another good one. Just get over it. When emotions, when people do not have any training, and even when they do, here's the other one that is really beautiful. Now we're dancing with a different set of notes, which comes from Pema Chodron and Jack Kornfield. They had an interview going on. And I distilled it down to Prema's sound bites. But one of the things that they point out, which I think is really interesting, is when people get into a practice, they expect that everything is going to be groovy now. Everybody's going to be happy. Everything's going to be groovy, and only good things are going to happen to me. So then it doesn't work that way. Then life throws us another one of its wonderful curveballs, and we find ourselves really pissed off, really feeling abandoned, or whatever our emotions are. And along with that comes this judgment. Well, I'm a Dharma person, and I'm doing all this practice, and I'm still crazy. And I still have these feelings, and I still react negatively, and I still want to strangle whoever or whatever. So what does that make me then? How? And this is impossible. I will never get enlightened. I will never be awakened. I am just, etc., etc. It's common. I hear this all the time. People judging themselves. Okay, this is not helpful. But how do we get out of it? How do we get out of this sense? Well, we have to understand, this is a matter of training, to understand that whatever arises in the mind is just the mind. And if we look deeply enough at it, we will discover the place where we have misinformation, where we are guilty about something, where we are afraid of something. If we look carefully, we can disarm that. But if we don't, but we have to own it. We can't say, well, I don't want to be that way, so I'm not going to be that way. And if I'm that way, then I'm useless. We can't, it doesn't work. It's non-functional. My interest in all of this is what works. I'm a very practical person. I really, whatever I do, whatever I'm engaged in, I want to know that it works. And I want to know what the result is going to be. What do I get if I'm going to put all this effort and energy into this? So what we get is freedom, absolute and utter freedom to choose how we're going to feel about things, what we're going and how we're going to act, and what is the way in which we're going to relate to the world around us. Because the world is going to keep doing its thing. It's going to be, the volcanoes are going to go off, the rain is going to come down, the earth is going to shake, the wind is going to blow, and people are going to be pissy, and people are going to be arrogant, and people are going to be unkind. All of this is going to go on. So what are you going to do about it? How are you going to react to this? Are you going to cave in and say, oh, this is hopeless, I can't deal with this, let me out of here? Good luck. There's no out of here. The only out of here is the way in. And that is to understand that you can open to each moment and radiate your wisdom and compassion. Every single moment. It's your choice. And if there's anything that is inhibiting this, like these strong emotions that arise, take a hold of them and look at it. Look at it carefully. Look at the energy inside of it. And ask yourself, what's going on? How can I use this energy? How can I use this power in order to radiate more love in the world? How can I do that? Why am I know that just screaming my displeasure doesn't work. It just doesn't work. Or punching somebody in the nose. Metaphorically, it doesn't work even. What works? What works is maintaining a sense of interconnectedness with all that exists and of seeing the bigger picture, seeing how volcanoes arise and pass away, societies arise and pass away, cultures arise and pass away, relationships arise and pass away, bodies arise and pass away. This is the great impermanence. And understanding it and allowing it and opening ourselves to it enables us to be present 100% in the moment and to cultivate our joy, because joy naturally arises when there is no resistance to life. It is inseparable from what they call, I hate to even use the word, emptiness, in what the ultimate state of mind. The ultimate open state of mind is inseparable from joy. So this is, and according to His Holiness, the Dalai Lama, our gift to the world is our joy. It is essential that we cultivate our joy. We have a commitment here. All of us have made a commitment to manifest the highest possible consciousness that we can, because knowing that it is the greatest gift we can give the world, and this gift rides on our joy. Yeah. So let's see, how are we doing? Oh, great, I've got just a few minutes left and I have pages to go through, but it was so, it's really beautiful. These notes from Pema Chodron and Jack Cornfield are really cute. One of the things that her Trillik Rinpoche, is one of her teachers, points out, and this was my experience when I was a 16, 17-year-old hitchhiking across the country alone. Every single person has a soft spot. And if we meet them and with a whole set of preconceived ideas, you know, let's say it's some burly guy, you know, with an aggressive stance, you know, because sometimes I'd get picked up by these guys, and, you know, with a whole agenda, but they all have a soft spot. Everyone has a place where love lives inside of them. And so it was my great adventure to find this soft space, no matter who it was that picked me up. So, you know, they would ask me questions about myself. I would deflect them. I wasn't interested in myself. I was interested in them. And what did they love? So we talked about relatives. We talked about animals. There was, the spectrum was wide. And my friends have heard me tell this story before. I think the one that really got me the most was the guy who was in love with seeing the many ways that communities cultivated garbage cans. And he had a whole set of pictures and garbage cans, but he loved it. He loved this idea of humanity being creative in this way, just turned this guy on. So according to these teachings, we want to find the soft spot, and talk about it, encourage people, draw them out. So if you're really frustrated with the people around you, seek their soft spot and encourage their soft spot. Dropping agenda and being completely curious about anyone. Okay, let's see, what else do we have? Oh, I've got all of these notes here. Oh, but I think I've covered most of it. Okay, yep. Okay, well then I'll read this last paragraph. Not being reactive. This is something that people who are upset with our political situation often ask, you know, what do I do? And this particular, they were talking about Gandhi and about Martin Luther King. And both of them, when they were invited to talk about nonviolence, they said, nonviolence is not passive. This isn't a passive thing. It takes quite a lot of energy, actually, to be nonviolent. And so they went on to say, not being reactive is not being passive. It's not a kind of stupidity. Holding back, it's not holding back. And it's not being disinterested, because we're not removing ourselves from the world. We're staying real equanimity. If we stay in equanimity in the face of whatever we perceive of as being a violent situation. This isn't indifference. Here it is. It's the capacity to be present with your whole being and not add fuel to the fire. Oh, yummy, yummy. I went through all of my notes. I'm so proud of myself. So before I launch into our news and my announcements, I'm going to ask any questions about any of the material that we've covered today. Because Josh can unmute you and we can chat a little bit. No questions? Liliha, okay. So we'll unmute Liliha.
Is how you as a 15 or 16-year-old had figured out this thing about asking people about themselves and deflecting questions about you and finding their soft spot. I just would like to hear you talk about that.
Right. Well, a lot of people feel very isolated in themselves. They just, I guess, you know, it started even before this, when I was in grade school, you know, really grade school, like 4th, 5th, 6th grade and on up. I was always interested in the ones that everybody else rejected. I was interested in the people around me. And, you know, like I say, I believe that I came into this life with an agenda that has to do with the Dharma. So it was, you know, I was not an ordinary child for that reason. Even though I was invited to be part of the groovy set, I was much more interested in the ones who were rejected. So I learned to ask them what they were interested in, what were their interests, and, you know, what was their life. You know, children, they talk. And so I discovered that everybody had something interesting going on. And, you know, and everybody was hurt by the rejection of others and surprised when somebody who was part of the elite would, you know, talk with them and be with them and, you know, so forth and so on. And I very quickly lost my elite status by my behavior. But that sort of set the stage for, you know, the rest of my journeying, so that I just did the same thing whenever I was in the car with someone, was, you know, ask them what was their interest, what, you know, who, what family, what was their favorite family member. I don't even remember all this. I had a whole criteria. You know, I was just interested. And people, what I found, at first it was astonishing, but then it became rote for me, is that many people never talk about their feelings. They never, they don't feel safe. You know, a 16, 17-year-old girl with her guitar and her nothing, no luggage, and heading who knows where, you know, I was definitely safe. They were never going to see me again. And so they could talk about things that they wouldn't talk about with anybody else because of the judgment that surrounded them. It was just like the kids, you know, there was all of this, well, Eddie doesn't have a button on his pants. He has a big, it was a pin, a safety pin. You know, that was Eddie's problem. And well, Louise looks terrible in the, whatever the trip was that drove people back into the corner and made them quiet and not talk and not communicate and feel badly about themselves. You know, when people started feeling safe and not judged, then a whole realm of interesting creative ideas came bubbling to the surface we would have never known. So that was, for some reason, that was my thing. And so I really enjoyed. I hitchhiked back and forth across the country. I went from Miami up to New York, and then New York over to Los Angeles, and then Los Angeles up the coast to California, to San Francisco, and then I hitchhiked back along the southern route down to Miami again. And I did that 3 or 4 times. I think one year I put in 30,000 miles hitchhiking. I thought it was
Wow.
my calling. You know, I knew I was called to do something. So that was what I thought. You know, I decided, well, if I can make one person happy, then that's what I can do. So that's a little elaboration on that whole thing.
Still a very good tactic.
Well, it worked. It worked. I was safe.
Yeah.
It was amazing. People would take me hundreds of miles out of my way just to keep talking. And, you know, they were doing the talking.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Any
Thank
other
you.
questions? Yeah. Anything else you want to talk about, or you want me to talk about? Okay. Well, then, oh yes, all right. So Stefania. Okay, I'm going to unmute you. All right, Stefania.
Hi. Can you hear me?
I can.
Oh, okay, great. You said you started every morning or every time you woke up with some sort of affirmation or something that you say to yourself. And
Yeah.
I find myself looking for something that will inspire me in my Gmail or a text, right? So I would like to find a way to inspire my mind to waking up to something different than just my email or my texts. What do you suggest aside from these affirmations, or these affirmations are it in the morning?
Well, you have to develop your own affirmations.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, these are ideas. like I said, for me, every day in every way, I'm getting better and better. I say that all day long. But the other thing I say is, Mother, I'm here. Tell me, help me, guide me, inspire me. My every day, every moment is a kind of prayer for me. So that, if I see something beautiful, I think, Mother, I wish beauty upon all beings in this world. So I try as much as possible to keep all of my activities engaged in the orientation of bringing wisdom and compassion forward with all of my interactions. So you have to determine for yourself. Now, this is why, when I have students, which many of you are students of mine, I encourage everyone. I will give you prayers that I encourage you to say every day, like the prayer of motivation. We start with that. Now, even though I encourage this, I will also say, make it your own. If you don't, this is why when you're studying with me, I ask you to look at each line of the prayer that I'm asking you to do, and to really think about, does this work? Do you believe it? What does it mean to you? Because the prayers themselves are all affirmations. I'm here to manifest the wisdom that rests within. That's an affirmation. I'm here to radiate my loving compassion into the world. I'm here to gather the skill and the power to bless and empower. These are all affirmations. That's why we say these prayers, because we want to use them to make contact with our own inner guide. Now, there's so much static on the lines of contacting our inner guide that it's helpful to have guides outside of ourself as well. So in other words, if you are hitting the wall with some kind of situation that's really frustrating you, and your mind is endlessly revolving and you can't seem to break it, reach out to your sources of refuge. If you have a teacher or a mentor, you call them, you talk to them, you talk about your situation. Or if you have, perhaps you have a counselor that really understands you and is helpful to you. Or if you've developed a relationship with Tara or with one of the enlightened beings, you call upon them. Because this engagement, the engagement with the wisdom mind, will help you to see a way through, to see a way to be able to shape your affirmations, meaning your daily practice, to shape your affirmations in a way that's really meaningful to you and workable. You want it to be not too long. You don't want to do long, endless prayers that you go unconscious with. You want to, this is why the sadhanas in general are structured so that we change the mind constantly. So first there's the invocation, then there's the purification, then there's the arise as Tara, then there are the different, the mantra, and then there's the qualities, and then again there's what you do with them, and the dedicate. All of these things keep you from becoming complacent, because you want the mind to be alert, and you want to use these. These are all affirmations. These are all ways to examine the mind, because what will happen when you work with affirmations like this, or when you work with these prayers, you're stimulating whatever lies underneath your incapacity. So in other words, wherever the guilt and fear sit, it's hard to see depth into that depth, because the mind is very, very talented and very creative in moving off the point. So you want to keep penetrating, and that's why these different ways of working with the mind keep the mind's attention, so that, okay, we did this one thing, now we do this, now we do that, and it's massaging underneath the consciousness, underneath the awake consciousness, into the subconsciousness, to try to stimulate it so you can see it. Very often in the dance of Tara, women will come to me, or dancers will come to me, even my gentlemen dancers will come, and they will say to me, I had this insight. I realized that the reason I was blah, blah, blah is because I was blah, blah, blah. Where did that come from? It's the stimulus and the provocation of the affirmations that are built into the practice.
Okay.
Is that helpful?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Prema.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. And Habib, were you waving your hand for, did you want to say something? Okay, I'm going to unmute you. You and your darling Phyllis. There we go.
I was
So, oh,
Hi, everybody.
well, everybody's saying how fabulous. Okay, beautiful. Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, so anyone else have something they want to say? Okay, I see. Ayana, are you continuing to wave your hand? That means yes? No? Maybe? Okay, I'm unmuting you. Okay. Trishana, yes, okay. Kawaii girls, you seem to, I think I unmuted you. Did you have something to say? Oh, goodness, I can't hear you. Yeah, I can't hear you. Oh, well. Oh, well, sorry, Kawaii girls. At least I can see you. Shakira is really cute. Okay, and Robin. Fantastic. Okay, so now announcements, everybody. I've got to do this.
Can we try?
First of all,
Prema, can you?
there you are. Yeah, I can
We
hear
didn't-
you now.
The speaker wasn't connected. Thank you. I wanted to just ask if you would please just repeat in the notes when you said reactivity, non-reactivity is not passive, and you described that it takes a lot of energy and it's being spacious. There was a very simple, direct line that I really liked, but by the time I took the other notes leading to it, the specific words were lost. I wondered if that could be repeated.
I think I know what you're talking about. Okay. I don't know if I can find it. It's page 1. It was on page, oh, that's because it blew away. Here it is. It was the last line. This was from Gandhi and Martin Luther King. Not being reactive is not being passive. Is that the one you mean?
Yes.
It's
Yes.
not a kind of stupidity, okay? It's not a kind of stupidity, a holding back or being disinterested. It's not removing yourself from the world. Real equanimity isn't indifference. It's the capacity to be present with your whole being and not add fuel to the fire.
Thank you,
So,
Prema.
you're welcome. And like I say, for those of you who make any kind of donation to the Zoom, I will send you all of these notes because, of course, I barely even touch the surface when I get inspired. That's all I really need them for, is to orient my conversation with you. So now, here's my notes, my news. First of all, I have long been wanting to honor those of you who show up, because it's very stimulating for me to see you and to be able to to connect with my beloveds all over. And also to see new people. It's very exciting. Yeah, it's beautiful. So I'm going to offer special deals only to those of you who show up. So your special deal this time, I have been working with this guy, a Tibetan who lives on the Big Island. And he has made all of these rolls of prayer flags, really special prayer flags, and all different sizes. And so I have a price list. And what I will do is I will send it only to you guys. Actually, I'm going to send it out, but you guys get 30% off. So that's almost paying what I paid for them. So for instance, I think one of these, there's like 50, 50 flags. And I don't know what, I think, let's see. Oh, yeah. Okay. So hang in there with me. And I'll see if this, yeah, there gives you an idea of, so he has Zambala prayer flags, which is incredible. This is the deity of wealth. He has Dukar prayer flags, also fantastic. This is our protector, our thousand-arm protector. And some of the most interesting prayer flags, the 8 auspicious symbols prayer flags. So in the corner, can you see these? Josh, can you see this? Yeah. Anyway, I will send it to all of you and give you the opportunity to purchase. And I will mail them either from my home here on Maui or with a special little note, I love you, or from the Big Island, he'll mail them directly. So if you want, they can go slow boat, which is first class, which I think it costs, you know, $4 or $5 shipping, or they can go fast priority mail. But anyway, that's perks for the precious ones. Okay, so then news. Costa Rica is happening, and so I understand that our lovely Amber has arrived, and with Judith Jasmine. Oh yeah, there they are, waving. How cute! That's adorable. You guys, I thought you were going to go play. I get an email just before that said, "Oh, sorry, we won't be there. We're going to go play," which you know how happy that made me. Ah ha ha. So I'm happy to see you girls. Anyway, onward. And then March 8th, Anam Tupten, actually, it's really beautiful. He invited us again to dance for him at his place in Point Reyes. And so we're going to concentrate on Red Tara. And I will probably do the solo of Kurukule, and the group will learn the dance, the new dance. And then we'll also do Calling Tara from the Heart, because he only saw that once and I know he loves it. So if you want to join us at Point Richmond, Lori, bless her heart, has offered to organize things for us, registration and so forth. And so that's wonderful. It's really, and I'll start my tour there. Then I'm still negotiating with Gainesville, Florida. They said they wanted a workshop, but then stopped communicating. So I don't know. I might just arrive in Orlando, catch my breath, and then leap off to Brazil. We're doing so many things in Brazil. We're going to Fortaleza and Floripa, and then Natal, and then we've got the South American retreat. But in the middle of all of that, I actually bought our tickets, Miri, for Ecuador. So we now have our round trip tickets, Quito. And I know some of you have said that you were interested. And so we're only going to take 11 people with us. So be sure to register for that. And thanks to Josh, our internet is working again. We had a real shock a few days ago. We couldn't put anything new on, and then the site disappeared completely. And so thanks to Josh, it's back up and running again, so you can get all the information about this wonderful tour to Ecuador that we're taking. And I just got a message. I don't know if any of you met Star Atherton. She was an old Maui friend. And I mean old. She danced the first Tara dance, the first 2 Tara dances, Star Atherton, and she's living in Vilcabamba in Ecuador, so we're going to visit her also. And then we finally, Yahoo, got a date for our retreat, our weekend retreat in Wappinger Falls, New York, in upstate New York. It's so interesting. This beautiful retreat center has been really quiet. The Lama in charge passed away, and he left it to one of my heart teachers, which is Taisita Rinpoche. He gave the center, and we have been invited to do our workshop there. It's a residential environment, so there'll be room for everybody, and we'll be dancing in this magnificent shrine room dedicated to the spiritual friend, which is Maitreya, supposedly the next Buddha, but he is supposed to be the essence and kindness. So that's very inspiring. That's the June 19th through 21st. And then because we're going to have the masks with us, on Sunday we're going to do an offering of the mandala, but not with masks, just with the costumes. And then Monday, Miri will lead a one-day workshop and dancing with the masks, so everybody will have a chance, should they choose to stay on the extra day, to experience. The more experience you get with the masks, the better. And Miri also has told me that she wants to start working with people in doing individual dances, so an expression of each of the powers of the mask. So that should be a very interesting one-day experience. So Gina, if you're here, I didn't see you, but I will definitely let you know that we have decided on the date for Denver, which is June 26th through 28th. And then the first weekend in July, I'm hoping that we can do an event with Vicky Noble. Vicky has developed a healing ritual using drums and mantra that's really powerful. And she has told me that she would share it with me. And I'm going to see if we can't do a little workshop in Santa Cruz. She's offered a friend of hers to organize. So we'll see if we can get that together. And then the retreat at Tara Mandala, at Sultra Maleone's retreat space, they have finally got it up in their catalog, and it's really magnificent. There is a special URL that we will post on our website, but also send it out through social media. And of course, if you get the notes, you'll receive it as well through the notes. So the only thing about this event with Sultram is I'm going to need a little bit of support from the Sangha, because they don't pay my whole airfare. And so that's a little tricky because I'll be coming from Maui. I'll do a round trip from Maui. So I will need some support for that. But it's amazing. They are so excited over there about this. We're going to do 2 performances, one with the masks and one without the masks. So again, we'll have the opportunity to experience that. And I'm telling you, Tara Mandala is the upper middle path. I mean, this place is so exquisite. It's so beautiful. It's just amazing. The residences are really exquisite, beautiful rooms, beautiful bathrooms, unbelievably good food, and a magnificent shrine room for us to dance in. So I really, really want to encourage you all to attend. And that's it. And wow, I just carried on. I'm going to ask Josh to unmute everybody now, if he can, so that you can all talk to each other. And please know that it has been just fantastic to share with you. And thank you all very much for your donations. It definitely keeps us going over here. Yeah, and I wish you all a merry, merry, happy, happy in all ways. Liliha, did you have something you wanted to say? I saw you raise your hand.
All to send your names in to be read at the pujas in Kathmandu. I don't see any of y'all's names there. Robin's name, a few people have sent in their names, but I just thought I'd take the opportunity to say I think that has to go to Andrea on the 18th.
Okay. So what she's talking about is if you have anybody in your life that has recently died or that's struggling in any way, to send these emails to her, and she will compile them in a list. And then Andrea in Kathmandu, she, whatever offerings you can make to this end, she will go to the monastery and will have pujas said for all of these individuals. And then on the 3rd of January, they paint the stupa and hang prayer flags. So I also encourage you to be generous to support this. She was very touched and thrilled with the support that we received for the wealth vase. The Lama was just ecstatic being able to take care of things that really needed to be taken care of at the monastery. So that's what Lily Howe was talking about. Thank you for reminding me. That's really good. Yeah. Any other news that we need to report to everyone? Yeah, Atlee, do you have something you want to say there, dear? Let me unmute you. Josh, could you unmute Atlee? I can't seem to. Ah, there it is. Yeah? Okay, Atlee, let's go. Go for it. Oops. Yeah. Oh, can't hear you. Oh dear. I think you have to turn your speaker on, Atlee. Oh dear. Well, it's good to see your face anyway. I'm so happy that you are able to attend. Yeah, it's wonderful. It's wonderful. Oh, beautiful. Okay, anything else? Then I'm going to exit the meeting myself and let you talk to each other if you like. Josh, thank you so much always for your incredible and wonderful support. I'm so happy that we could get together to do this. Okay, did you want to say something over here, Trishana group, Kauai ladies?
I want to say thank you, Prema. Thank you.
Thank you, Prema.
I want to say happy birthday. It's coming up.
Birthday.
Happy birthday.
is.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Our solstice leader.
6 days.
And Josh, the backgrounds are beautiful. How you organize the background. How fun. Very nice, Josh. And hi, everybody. Hi, everybody.
Wonderful. Yes, well, I think I'm trying to do a Zoom on my birthday and have everybody sing to me.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
we could do that.
Yes.
Okay, darlings, till the next time. Bye for now.
Thanks, Prema.
Oh, wait.
Yummy.